What's going on? Yeah. So we just did a video yesterday, and we are back at it again today. Today we're gonna be doing the Week 11 rundown of the NFL 2024 season. Uh, a lot of good games, a lot of fun games, a lot of crappy teams, a lot of good teams. Um, Obviously there was a main event. It was very, very good, but it was not the last game of the week. But to start off the week, we did have another heavyweight matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles were trying to defend their turf against the Washington Commanders, and they did just that. Very slow paced game to start off. Um, Dayton Daniels got off to a quick lead early. Eagles were not able to capitalize early on. They ended up kind of getting things going in the second half. Barkley ran in for 2 touchdowns, and I believe Jalen had one himself. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know just how far that Commanders team can go at this point, but they've won enough games to be in playoff contention. And in the NFC, with it being so wide open, who knows who's going to make it in? Right now, they are one of the teams to be a favorite, but they're going to have to get things back on course because we know that the Eagles be able to will be able to win games like that. So the Commanders might have themselves a little bit of uphill stretch, but for right now, the Eagles definitely took full control of that division, and things are just kind of running smooth for them. We won't talk about the Cowboys right now because the Cowboys will be Monday Night Football talk. And some news came out of New York for the New York Giants. Tommy DeVito will be the new starter, so the Carolina Panthers are kind of back on their little trend of getting people fired, with Dennis Allen being number one and then Daniel Jones number two. Transitioning over to the AFC East, we have some matchups to talk about over here. The New York Jets, they took on the Indianapolis Colts, and they lost them. Richardson played a phenomenal game. He took advantage of a really bad defense, and the Jets were doing okay on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense is still really their weak point. And yeah, Anthony Richardson was just kind of able to go off and keep things going that way. Jets are on the struggle bus. I believe they've only won 3 games themselves, so I don't really think they got a lot really to look forward to right now. And especially in their division where one team is starting to kind of step up in the Dolphins and the Patriots are rebuilding, you don't exactly want to be on that same tier as the Patriots because you thought this season was going to be your season. Talking about the Patriots, just real quick, they lost to the Los Angeles Rams, who got a little bit of a bounce back after that loss to the Dolphins. Stafford looked really good, getting who his weapons Cup and Nakua, getting the things rolling, getting the things done. Patriots obviously think they have their guy in Drake May. He looks very solid, very good. He's going to need a little bit of weapons. He's going to need some O-line help. If he can minimize the interceptions, honestly, I think he's done a phenomenal job over there just starting off. Drake May, hats off to him. Patriots will obviously be getting a pretty early draft pick, and as far as I know, there's not a lot of great tackles coming up in this draft. Um, a lot of them are considered to be guards, but you never know at this point, right? So, hey, unfortunately, you take the L to the Rams, but you see some positives, and that's always the good sign. Real quick, we'll go over to Miami, huh? Miami Dolphins took on the Las Vegas Raiders. Miami's finally getting things going. They had a really rough start with only 2 wins on the season. They've gotten 2 in a row back to back after that loss to the Bills in devastating fashion. They beat the Rams on prime time. Now they beat the Raiders. And or their division is probably going to be won by the Bills at this point. Bills only have 2 losses so far. We will get to them in a minute. But not only that, uh, they got off to such a rocky start. It's going to be hard to get back caught up in there. But the Dolphins themselves, they have a pretty easy schedule, so they can get themselves right back in the wild card contention, even though they only have 4 wins right now. I know they don't have a lot of good teams left on their schedule. I believe Houston Green Bay and the Niners, who are shaky themselves, are that's pretty much it. But yeah, Dolphins get a solid win. Defense still looks a little scraggly to me, but it's playing okay. And Tua is getting some touchdowns, and that's really all you need to see from him at this point. Now let's talk about the leaders over there, right? The Buffalo Bills. They took on the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm sure you've already heard by now, but they handed them their first loss. Josh Allen was a man among boys. He got a beautiful throw off to Amari Cooper. Shout out to Amari. Getting that one handed grab on a third down was really pivotal in one of those drives to kind of get it down the field. James Cook had 2 touchdowns, and Josh Allen obviously had the put away one. Mahomes finally looked like Mahomes a little bit, getting the ball, flinging it around a little bit. Fortunately, 2 interceptions, but we know Mahomes is a good quarterback. It's I people have their thoughts on him, but he is very good at what he does. But today it was Josh Allen's day, and yeah, they get themselves a really, really, really big win for them. Pretty much solidifies them as a superpower in the AFC, and yeah, that's basically all you really need to see, right? Uh, let's kind of go ahead and transition all the way over to the west side and go to the NFC West to start off. Uh, the 49ers, they took a loss to the Seahawks. Really big loss. Really big loss because it was a come from behind loss, right? Geno Smith gets a touchdown really late in the ball game, and the Niners had a tiny bit of time, but they just weren't able to get it back. They're looking a little rough right now, right? And I think everybody thought with McCaffrey coming back, we just assumed the 49ers were just kind of going to be right back in there, start winning games, and finally get themselves back to where they should be. But right now, they're looking rough. The defense isn't looking as good, and I know Robert Sala's over there helping out the Green Bay right now instead of San Fran. If I'm Shanahan, I'd be giving him a call, to be honest with you, if I could. But for now, yeah, Niners are just looking a little rough, and I don't know what to say about that division as a whole. It's so wide open, even though the Cardinals are technically leading by winning more games. Seahawks, Rams, and even the Niners can get right back into it. But yeah, not a very good start. Uh, AFC West, we'll talk about the Chargers and the primetime football themselves. So I figure, why not? Let's go ahead and talk about the Denver Broncos beating up the Atlanta Falcons. Bo Nix looked amazing, man. Bo Nix had a very, very good week. He looked finally. This was his like breakout game, right? And he put himself right in that consideration to be the rookie of the year this year on the offensive side of the ball. Um, 4 touchdowns, great game. Yeah, Falcons aren't looking that good. Their defense played pretty rough. Their offense really wasn't able to get anything going against a really good Denver defense, and it showed. Um, Denver's got to be okay with this, though. It's very important for them to keep getting the wins while they can, especially because they have playoff hopes themselves, and they're still right in that mix. I know the Dolphins are starting to creep up, but maybe the Broncos can kind of get it back. Alrighty, let's keep going. Let's do NFC South to start off, right? We know the Panthers went on a bye. As far as I remember, the Buccaneers are also on a bye. And we talked about the Falcons. Shout out to the New Orleans Saints who are finally getting things back under control under Coach Rizzi, I believe was his name. He clogged the toilet last week, and this week he got another victory. Granted, it's over the Cleveland Browns. Not a lot of people are looking at it as impressive right now. But honestly, I thought to myself that maybe Cleveland will be able to get it back. Jameis just had a rough week. He might be able to bounce back, get things going. Fortunately, that's not what happened. Um, yeah, pretty rough over there. I think New Orleans has some issues, but at the same time, they're getting the wins when they need it, right? So they have 4 wins now. Their division is kind of wide open still. The Buccaneers, obviously, once they get Mike Evans back and maybe Chris Godwin, they'll be dominant. But the Falcons are kind of blowing apart, looking a little rough. Panthers have won a couple games, but no one's really expecting them to kind of tear things up. But I guess who knows at this absolute point, right? Um, Going to the AFC South, there's only one more big game we really got to talk about. Oh, no, there's two of them. The Jacksonville Jaguars getting absolutely dismantled by the Detroit Lions. I believe the final score of 52-6. That Jaguars offense just looks completely abysmal without Trevor Lawrence. Mac Jones is definitely not the quarterback to run that thing, and it definitely shows on paper. Yeah, what more to say other than the Lions just kind of steamrolled them, beat them up, beat them down, and it was an impressive win for them. Now, next one and last one to talk about in the AFC South. The Minnesota Vikings took on my beloved Tennessee Titans. It's rough out here. Um, Titans just are not playing really good football, and the Vikings just executed on that. I know there were a lot of penalties, and they did change a lot of the game, but at the same time, this has just been Titans football this year. They're not playing great football offensively, and it's not helping the defense whatsoever. And yeah, the points on the defensive side definitely could have been negated if some of those penalties weren't called. Some of them I personally disagree with, but that just is what it is. Will Levis still showing improvement, a lot of improvement with a 98-yard touchdown. He had a throw in the next drive that was absolutely beautiful as well. I think it was like 35 yards. Could have been shorter. I don't remember completely. But either way, another loss for the Titans. Vikings are kind of still marching their way in there. Still second place in their division. Right behind the Detroit Lions, who, as I mentioned, just dominated the Jaguars and get Jared Goff returned after his 5 interception game to 4 tutties. Finishing off the NFC North, though, we had the Chicago Bears hosting the Green Bay Packers. Really, Caleb showed a little bit more promise. The run game was a lot better against the Packers, and that was a really good sign. The Packers still do have issues with pass rush and everything along those lines. But, you know, things happen. Things are what they are. Now, at the very end of the game, Cairo Santos, who is usually money, goes for the kick and it gets blocked. That's a huge one. Unfortunately, block led to the Packers winning just another one, and the Bears' collapse is continuing from 4-3 to 4-6. And what do you do at this point? If you're the Chicago Bears, you just got rid of your offensive coordinator. Your offense definitely got a lot of good strides coming in. Um, yeah, it just is what it is over there, right? And for the Green Bay Packers, you get yet another win. Heading into Thanksgiving, you take on the Dolphins, I believe. I think we got another week before that, but still. And obviously, the Lions and your friends, the Cowboys, will also be playing in it. So, yeah, should really be a really fun holiday with all of you guys playing, huh? AFC North, we'll talk about the defensive showdown. The Pittsburgh Steelers hosted the Baltimore Ravens. Game ends 16-13. Fortunately, the story has kind of become Justin Tucker missing his kicks, which is true. That is what happened. And it is unfortunate, as Justin Tucker has been one of the best kickers in the entire league. Things just happen that way, right? Really good defensive battle from both teams. Um, Steelers do what they do. They don't let you score a lot of points on them. And the Ravens were doing a really good job holding the Steelers back as well, even keeping Russell from throwing a lot of his legendary deep balls. But a couple of them did land, and it led to scores. And in a grit and grind type of game, the Steelers just outgrinded them. Alrighty, now Sunday night football. We had the Los Angeles Chargers hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. One team hoping to get themselves back in the playoff hunt, and one team that's pretty much firmly in there because they're playing such good football. The Los Angeles Chargers take yet another one. They started off great, really good start in the first half. Second half, they just could not get anything going offensively. Defensively, unfortunately, they're letting up touchdown after touchdown. Because when you're not doing a lot offensively, eventually things like that are just going to happen. Unfortunately for the Bengals, it came down to 18 seconds on the clock. J.K. Dobbins scoring a touchdown to finish them off. Really tough one. Really bad for them, especially for the Bengals, as now I believe you have 7 losses. It's just things happen, right? And we expected a really good team, but you take the L. It is. It happens. It sucks. You move forward, and hopefully things get a little bit better over there. For the Chargers, shout out to them. There's a very good chance they get a wild card spot themselves. I don't think they're going to catch the Chiefs themselves, but they possibly could. Chiefs are going to take quite a bit of fumblings, and the Chargers are just going to have to keep winning for that to be the case, though. Uh, Now, Monday night, we had Houston Texans taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And while everybody in the world that's not a Cowboys fan enjoys watching them lose, it's unfortunate that they just look so completely awful. Um, huge fan of watching the Cowboys lose. Not a huge fan of how much hate they get. But I guess that's just what happens when you're prime time all the time. The Cowboys losing to the Texans. They aren't able to run the football. Passing the ball isn't exactly great. Uh, Houston did a phenomenal job. I mean, C.J. Stroud was throwing all over the field. Unfortunately, did throw a couple picks. That just kind of happens though sometimes. Um, and what can you do, right? Because Houston looks like they're struggling a little bit. They look like they're not doing so well. And so, what should Houston do? Um, I really don't know what to tell you on that one. Because right now they are leading the division by 2 games. But they're not necessarily playing great football. So, it's hard to think what's going to happen in the AFC South. The Titans and Jaguars are completely already out of it. Um, Cowboys are obviously out of it in the East, so are the Giants. So that's a 2-team race as well. Basically, I'm just kind of rambling, thinking about the divisions right now. As the AFC North is basically going to be either the Ravens or the Steelers. I don't think we all had that one. I thought all 4 could honestly have been competing. NFC North, Packers, Vikings, and Lions. While a little crazy, it was possible. Saints are definitely right back in the NFC South with the Buccaneers and the Falcons, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, no, these division races are just freaking completely great, and I love to see it. Week 11 was a fun week. Sorry you had to see my feet, but things happen that way, right? Um, but that's gonna be it for me for now, guys. What another great week of football. Hopefully, I'll have predictions out before the games kick off Thursday. Tomorrow, I think you will be seeing a video about my recap of the new college football standings, as playoff standings, as things are going through that. But for now, yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I appreciate y'all coming by to say hi. Thank you so very much. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.